During Christmas my family discovered I'd won the $50 million lottery when my financial advisor called. So my parents, siblings, and cousins all ganged up demanding their fair share, threatening to sue, but I calmly stood up and donated every penny to charity. Before we dive in, please take a second to subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. It means more than you know. Now let's continue this story. Christmas morning started like every other holiday at my parents' house. Chaotic, loud, and suffocating. I'm Deborah, 32 years old, and I'd spent the last decade being the family's safety net while they lived like I was their personal ATM. The smell of cinnamon rolls filled the air as my mother hollered about needing more ice. My phone buzzed during gift opening. Ms. Romer? Daniel Foster from Clearwater Financial. Congratulations on your lottery verification. The $50 million will transfer Monday. My blood turned cold. I'd bought that ticket 3 weeks ago at a gas station after my longest shift at the hospital. I was a pediatric nurse, barely scraping by after lending my brother Declan $12,000 for his business venture that never materialized. I'll call you back, I whispered, hands trembling. My father, Elias, looked up from his recliner. Who's that? Work on Christmas. Nobody important. But my voice cracked. My sister Athena, 28 and pregnant with her third child, narrowed her eyes. You look weird. Something wrong. I'm fine. I wasn't fine. $50 million. The number felt unreal, like someone else's dream. My mother, Maxine, emerged from the kitchen wiping her hands. Deborah, baby, you helping with dinner or what? Your cousin's gonna be here soon. The doorbell rang. My Aunt Loretta swept in with her twins, Aiden and Jolie, both 25 and perpetually unemployed. Behind them came my Uncle Jacob and his wife Heidi. Merry Christmas, family. Loretta's voice boomed. I pasted on a smile, that ticket burning a hole in my conscience. I should have felt joy. Instead I felt dread. Because I knew these people. And I knew what would happen if they ever found out. Dinner was the usual affair. Too much food, too many opinions, and me playing referee between my mother's passive-aggressive comments about my single status and Athena's complaints about her baby daddy. The collard greens were perfect, the mac and cheese rich and creamy, but I couldn't taste anything. Declan, my 35-year-old brother, leaned back in his chair. So Deborah, when you gonna pay me back that money I loaned you for nursing school? My fork clattered against my plate. You never loaned me anything. I paid my own way through school while working 2 jobs. You're thinking of the $12,000 I loaned you. Oh right. He laughed, unbothered. Well, when you getting that back to me? I got investments to make. My father cleared his throat. Declan has been looking at franchise opportunities. Real promising stuff. I'd heard this song before. 5 different opportunities in 3 years, all ending with me covering his rent. My phone rang again. I'd forgotten to silence it. Daniel Foster's name flashed across the screen. Girl, answer that, Athena said. Must be important if they calling twice. It's nothing. My mother snatched the phone from the table. Hello? Yes, this is her family. What? 50 million? $50 million. The room went silent. You could hear the clock ticking in the hallway, the distant sound of Christmas music from the neighbor's house. Everyone stared at me. My mother's hand covered her mouth, eyes wide. Deborah, you won the lottery. The words hung in the air like smoke. I watched their faces transform, surprise morphing into calculation, then into something darker. Greed. Pure, undiluted greed. It's not confirmed, I started, but my voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. 50 million. Loretta shrieked, jumping from her chair. Oh my God, we're rich. We're all rich. The word echoed in my head like a warning bell. Within seconds they swarmed me like locusts. My mother grabbed my hands, tears streaming down her face. Tears I'd never seen during my childhood when I wore thrift store clothes or when I couldn't afford prom because I was saving for college. Baby, this is a blessing. God has finally answered our prayers. Maxine clutched my shoulders. We can finally pay off the house, get your father that truck he's wanted. Hold up, Declan interrupted, pulling out his phone's calculator. 50 million after taxes, that's what, 30 million? Divided by. He counted heads. 11 people here, that's like 2.7 million each. Yeah, that's fair. My stomach churned. Divided? What are you talking about? Elias stood up, his voice booming with authority he'd never earned. Now Deborah, family shares. That's how we do things. You wouldn't have made it this far without us raising you, feeding you, putting a roof over your head. The audacity punched the air from my lungs. I remembered being 12, working at a neighbor's hair salon on weekends because my allowance went to Declan's basketball shoes. I remembered eating ramen for months in college because sending money home meant they wouldn't lose electricity. Athena waddled over, her hand on her swollen belly. Think about your nieces and nephews, Deborah. Don't you want them to have a better life? I need a bigger house, a reliable car. This baby needs everything. I've already bought your kids 3 Christmases worth of gifts, I said quietly, feeling something crack inside me. Heidi, usually quiet, spoke up. We all have needs, Deborah. Jacob needs back surgery. The medical bills are killing us. Surely you can spare a few $100,000. A few $100,000. Like it was pocket change. Aiden and Jolie flanked me like bodyguards. "'Cause we've always had your back," Aiden said, though I couldn't recall a single time. "Remember when we—" He trailed off, unable to manufacture a memory. "When you what?" I challenged, my voice harder than I'd ever allowed it to be with family. The room's energy shifted. I saw it in their eyes. I was becoming the problem, not the solution. Uncle Jacob cleared his throat, his voice taking on a corporate tone that sounded rehearsed. "Let's be logical about this. You didn't earn this money, Deborah. It's luck, a gift from God meant to bless this entire family. Hoarding it would be sinful." My Aunt Loretta nodded vigorously, her gold hoop earrings swinging. "Exactly. And think about everything we've done for you. Who watched you when your mama worked late? Who gave you hand-me-down clothes? Who made me feel grateful for scraps?" I interrupted, my voice shaking. The room went silent. I'd never talked back before, never challenged the narrative they'd built where they were generous benefactors and I was the perpetual recipient. Those hand-me-downs came after Jolie outgrew them. I was the afterthought, not the priority. My mother's face reddened. "How dare you? After everything we sacrificed." "What did you sacrifice, Mama?" The words tumbled out like water from a broken dam. "I paid rent from age 16. I bought my own car, paid my own insurance, my own college. When Daddy's transmission blew, who covered it? When Declan got arrested, who paid his bail? When Athena needed. That's what family does." Elias's fist hit the table, rattling dishes. "You think you're better than us now? Too good for your own blood." Athena started crying, her pregnancy emotions amplifying the drama. "I can't believe you're being so selfish. I'm literally growing a human and you can't spare some money?" Declan stepped closer, his cologne overpowering. "Look, I've been talking to a lawyer friend. Technically, if we can prove family investment in your development, we could have legal claim to a portion." "You're threatening to sue me?" My voice came out as a whisper. "On Christmas." "Not threatening," he corrected, his smile cold. "Just stating facts. We've invested in you for 32 years. Time for returns." Something inside me shattered. Not my resolve. My last thread of obligation to these people. I stood there, frozen as memories crashed over me like waves. I was 8 years old again, watching Mama buy Declan the new PlayStation while telling me we couldn't afford the school field trip. "Boys need their entertainment," she'd said, ruffling his hair while I pretended not to care. I was 14, overhearing Daddy tell Uncle Jacob, "Deborah's smart. She'll figure it out. She don't need our help like Declan does. He's got it harder as a black man." As if being a black woman was somehow easier. I remembered being 19, sobbing in my dorm bathroom after my mother called asking for money. Not asking how I was doing during finals, not asking if I was eating, just needing $300 for Athena's birthday party. A party I wasn't invited to because it was for her real friends. I remembered 23 working double shifts while studying for my nursing boards, calling home excited to share my success and hearing, "That's great, baby, but can you talk to your brother? He's depressed about that job he lost." Every phone call had been about money. Every visit had been about what I could provide. Every holiday had been me showing up with gifts, groceries, and cash while they complained it wasn't enough. Deborah. Athena's voice cut through my memories. You're scaring me. Just say yes and we can all celebrate together. Don't ruin Christmas. I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd been my idol once, my big sister. But she'd never protected me, never stood up for me. She'd watched them bleed me dry and held out her own cup. You know what's funny? I said softly, dangerously. I've been ruining Christmases for years. Showing up here pretending we're a normal family. Pretending I don't see how you look at me, like an atom with a heartbeat. That's not fair, Maxine whispered, but she couldn't meet my eyes. Isn't it? The truth hung between us, toxic and undeniable. This wasn't love. This had never been love. It was exploitation dressed up in holiday traditions and blood ties. Loretta stood up, her voice dripping with manufactured sweetness. Deborah, honey, you're obviously overwhelmed. 50 million is a lot to process. Why don't we all sit down tomorrow with a financial planner and divide this fairly? We can make a family LLC invest together. Invest in what? I asked. Declan's 5th failed business? Aiden's mixtape? Jolie's OnlyFans career? Jolie gasped. How did you? I'm not stupid. I know exactly who each of you are. I turned to my mother. You've borrowed $47,000 from me in 10 years. Not once have you paid back a dime. You told me last year you'd start contributing when Daddy got that overtime. He bought a motorcycle instead. Elias's jaw tightened. That bike was an investment. In what? Your midlife crisis. I laughed, but it sounded broken. Athena, you owe me $18,000. Declan, $12,000 plus the $500 for groceries every month for 3 years. Uncle Jacob, remember that emergency root canal? I paid for your cruise to Jamaica 2 weeks later. Heidi had the decency to look ashamed. The others just looked angry. Angry I'd kept count, angry I'd remembered, angry I was naming their betrayals out loud. This is exactly why we need to formalize this, Declan said, his voice taking on that dangerous edge he used before violence. You're clearly not thinking straight. Keeping records of family help like we're strangers? That's sick, Deborah. You need therapy. What I need, I said, my voice steady now, powered by 32 years of suppressed rage, is for you to leave my house. This isn't your house, Maxine said coldly. This is the family home that I've helped pay the mortgage on for 6 years. The words landed like bombs. Yeah, Mama. Those small contributions you asked for? I looked up the county records last year. I've paid 38% of this mortgage. The silence was deafening. Elias's face turned purple. Get out of my house, he growled. Gladly, I said, grabbing my coat. And don't call me unless you're ready to apologize. Declan blocked the door. You're not leaving until we settle this. That money is as much ours as yours. Athena started hyperventilating, her pregnancy making the drama more theatrical. She's having a panic attack because of you, Deborah. If something happens to my baby, don't you dare. I pointed at her, my fingers shaking with fury. Don't you dare use that baby as a weapon against me. I've been there for every ultrasound you couldn't afford, every diaper shortage, every formula emergency. Where was their father? Where were these people offering to divide their lottery winnings? Heidi gently moved Declan aside, her voice softer than the others. Deborah, I understand you're hurt. But family is complicated. We all make mistakes. This money could heal a lot of wounds, help everyone start fresh. For a moment I almost believed her. Almost fell for the reasonable tone, the olive branch. Then I saw Uncle Jacob behind her, texting furiously on his phone, and I knew they were already planning their next move. Who are you texting? I asked him directly. He looked up, caught. Just updating the family. Your cousin Janelle wanted to know if she should drive in tonight. Your grandmother's been asking about the commotion. My grandmother. They were bringing my 90-year-old grandmother into this. Don't, I warned. Don't bring Grandma into your schemes. Loretta's face hardened. She has a right to know her granddaughter won the lottery. Unless you're planning to cut her out too? An old woman who raised half of us while working 2 jobs? You'd deny her. The manipulation was masterful. They knew Grandma was my soft spot. She'd been the only one who encouraged my nursing dreams, who told me education was freedom. But she was also traditional, believed in family loyalty above all else. Grandma gets whatever she needs, I said firmly. But that's between her and me. Not you vultures circling her for access to my money. Vultures. Maxine's voice went shrill. I carried you for 9 months. I gave you life. And you've never let me forget it. The words came out colder than I intended, but they were true. Every argument, every boundary I tried to set, every time I said I couldn't afford something, she'd brought up childbirth, like those 9 months had purchased her a lifetime of my servitude. My phone rang again. Another unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered, putting it on speaker. Is this Deborah Romer? This is Gerald Hawthorne from Hawthorne and Associates. Your brother Declan contacted us about a potential family lawsuit regarding lottery winnings. I wanted to reach out directly before taking the case. These situations can get messy. Declan had actually called a lawyer. During Christmas dinner. While I stood in the same room. The betrayal should have shocked me, but I felt strangely numb. Of course he had. Of course they all had their plans already in motion. They'd probably been texting lawyers before dessert was served. What grounds would he have for a lawsuit? I asked, my voice clinical, detached. He's claiming financial elder abuse, asserting that your parents are mentally compromised and you've manipulated them into allowing you to keep funds that should be distributed among family members. He's also suggesting that family investments in your upbringing constitute an informal loan arrangement. I laughed, actually laughed. My parents are 58 and 60, neither has been diagnosed with dementia, and I have receipts for every dollar I've given them over the past decade. Tell Declan his case is garbage and you'd be committing malpractice taking it. Elias lunged forward. Don't you dare speak to. Furthermore, I continued, my nursing training kicking in with that calm professionalism I use during emergencies, I'll be filing for a restraining order if my family continues to harass me. I'm documenting everything. Every threat, every demand, every attempt at manipulation. So choose your next words carefully. The lawyer cleared his throat. I see. Well, I appreciate your directness, Ms. Romer. For what it's worth, I wasn't planning to take the case. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Merry Christmas. He hung up. The room remained frozen in tableau. Me in my coat by the door, them arranged like accusers in a courtroom, the Christmas tree lights blinking cheerfully in the background, mocking the devastation of the holiday. You've changed, my mother whispered, and I heard it clearly. The accusation, the disappointment, the subtle guilt trip. No, I said softly. I finally stopped changing for you. Jolie, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up with surprising venom. My mama said you always thought you were better than us. Guess she was right. I turned to her slowly. Your mama asked me to co-sign a car loan 3 years ago. I said no because she'd defaulted on 2 previous loans that destroyed her credit. She told me I'd ruined her life. A week later she got the car anyway, a BMW she couldn't afford. When they repossessed it, she called me crying, asking for money to get it back. I sent $2,000. She used it for a cruise with her boyfriend. So yes, Jolie, I learned to think carefully about your mama's financial decisions. Loretta's face went slack with shock that I'd actually said it out loud. The truth was a living thing now, breathing between us, impossible to ignore. I looked at each of them, really seeing them for the first time without the filter of obligation. Declan. Manipulative, charming, perpetually irresponsible, always with a scheme and never with a paycheck. Athena, the eternal victim, weaponizing her children and her tears, never accountable for her choices. My parents, enablers who'd created this dysfunction and profited from it, pitting us against each other while demanding loyalty. The extended family, opportunistic, appearing for holidays and emergencies, always needing, never giving. I loved you, I said, and my voice cracked finally, emotion flooding through the numbness. I loved all of you so much that I almost destroyed myself trying to save you. But you can't save people who don't want to change. You can only drown with them. Maxine's tears started then, real ones this time. Baby, please. We can fix this. We can be better. Just don't take away our chance. Your chance. I shook my head. This isn't your chance, Mama. It never was. This ticket, this win, this is mine. Maybe the first thing that's ever truly been mine. Elias's voice came out strangled. So what, you're just gonna abandon your family? After everything? After everything, I repeated, tasting the words. Yes. After every guilt trip, every manipulation, every time you prioritized Declan or Athena or your own comfort over me. After 32 years of being the family bank and therapist and scapegoat. Yes, Daddy. I'm choosing myself. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called Daniel Foster back. He answered on the first ring. Mr. Foster, I need to schedule an emergency meeting. Tonight, if possible. I need to make arrangements for the lottery funds. Of course, Ms. Romer. I can meet you at the office in 2 hours. Is everything all right? No, I said honestly, looking at my family's shocked faces. But it will be. Declan stepped forward, his voice desperate now, different from his earlier aggression. Deborah, wait. Let's talk about this like adults. Maybe we came on too strong. We're family, we can work through this. Work through what? I asked. Your plan to sue me? Manipulate Grandma? Claim my parents are mentally unfit to try to steal my money? What exactly would we be working through, Declan? He had no answer. None of them did. Athena's tears were flowing freely now, mascara streaking her face. I'm pregnant, Deborah. I'm your sister. You're really going to let my baby grow up in poverty when you could help? Your baby won't grow up in poverty, I said wearily. His father has a job. You have WIC, Medicaid, family support. What he'll grow up without is an aunt who enables your terrible decisions. Maybe that's the greatest gift I can give him. Loretta tried a different approach, her voice honeyed with manipulation. Think about your legacy, Deborah. The Romer family could be something special. We could start businesses, create generational wealth, lift everyone up. Don't you want to be remembered as the one who saved us all? I want to be remembered as the one who saved herself, I said, and the truth of it resonated in my bones. I'm tired of setting myself on fire to keep you warm. I'm tired of being the only one expected to sacrifice. I'm tired of loving people who only love what I can do for them. My father's voice came out broken, and for a second I saw the man I'd wanted him to be, strong, protective, proud. You're making a mistake, little girl. Family is all you got. Money comes and goes, but blood is forever. Blood isn't forever, I whispered. Love requires action, not just DNA. And none of you have loved me in a very long time. The office was cold and sterile, nothing like my parents' chaotic living room. Daniel Foster sat across from me, his expression carefully neutral as I explained what I wanted to do. You want to donate the entire amount? He asked, double-checking his notes. All 50 million after taxes? Every penny, I confirmed. To the Children's Hospital Foundation, specifically their pediatric oncology unit. I wanted to fund treatment for families who can't afford it, create scholarships for nursing students, and establish a long-term care fund. He studied me carefully. Ms. Romer, I have to ask, are you being coerced? Threatened? Because if you're under duress. I'm free for the first time in my life, I said and meant it. My family found out about the lottery. Within 30 minutes they'd calculated their shares, threatened lawsuits, and called me selfish for even hesitating. If I keep this money, I'll spend the rest of my life fighting them off, negotiating boundaries, defending every purchase. They'll never stop. The money will destroy me. He nodded slowly, understanding dawning. I've seen this before. Lottery winners often face pressure from family. But to give up the entire amount. I'm not giving it up, I corrected him gently. I'm choosing what matters. I work at Children's Hospital. I see kids fighting cancer, families bankrupting themselves for treatment, parents working 3 jobs and still coming up short. I can't save my family, they don't want saving. But I can save others. The paperwork took 3 hours. My phone buzzed constantly, calls from every family member, texts ranging from pleading to threatening, voicemails filled with tears and rage. I turned it off. At 11:47 p.m. on Christmas night, I signed the final document. $30 million, after taxes, donated to the Children's Hospital Foundation in perpetuity. My name wouldn't be on any buildings. I didn't want recognition. I wanted peace. Daniel shook my hand, respect in his eyes. You're an extraordinary woman, Ms. Romer. I hope you find the peace you're looking for. Me too, I whispered. I drove home to my small apartment, the one I'd been saving to leave, planning to buy a house with my lottery winnings. Now I'd stay, keep working, keep living my small, quiet life. But it would be mine. My phone stayed off for 3 days. When I finally turned it on, there were 247 missed calls, 183 text messages and 67 voicemails. I didn't read or listen to any of them. Instead, I blocked every number except one, my grandmother's. She called an hour later. Baby girl, her voice was tired, sad. I heard what happened. Jacob told me everything. I'm sure he did, I said carefully. Grandma, I can explain. Hush, child. Let me talk. She paused and I heard her breathing, that familiar wheeze from years of smoking she'd quit 20 years too late. They came to me, you know. Your mama, Declan, all of them. Wanted me to call you, guilt you, tell you about my medical bills. My heart sank. Grandma, I'll help with anything you need. I know you would. That's what I told them. I said, Deborah's always been there, always helped when I needed it. She doesn't need a lottery win to be generous. They didn't like that. She chuckled darkly. Your mama said I was taking your side. I told her there ain't no sides in truth. Tears streamed down my face. They wanted to sue me, Grandma. On Christmas. I know, baby. And you did what you had to do. I don't blame you. She paused. But I am gonna tell you something and you listen good. What you did, donating all that money, that's gonna haunt you. Not because it was wrong, but because they're never gonna forgive you for it. They're gonna tell everyone you're vindictive, cruel, that you chose strangers over family. I know. And you gotta be okay with that. You can't control their narrative. But you can live with your truth. Her voice softened. I'm proud of you, Deborah. Prouder than I've ever been. You chose integrity over ease. That's rare. We talked for 2 hours. About her childhood, my grandfather who died before I was born, the choices she'd made that she regretted. When we hung up, I felt lighter, validated by the one person whose opinion had always mattered most. The news broke 3 days later. Local woman donates lottery winnings to Children's Hospital. My name was withheld per my request, but my family knew. The messages turned vicious then, accusations, threats, wishes for my death. I documented everything and filed for restraining orders against Declan and Elias. 6 months have passed now. The restraining orders were granted. My family hired a lawyer to contest the donation, claiming I was mentally unstable, but the judge dismissed it after reviewing my psychological evaluation and the documentation of their harassment. The hospital sent me a letter thanking me, telling me about the first 3 families who'd received help, the nursing student who got a full scholarship. I still work at the pediatric unit. Last week, a mother grabbed my hand after I spent 12 hours caring for her daughter post-surgery. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for everything. She didn't know I was the donor. He just saw a nurse who cared. That's enough. I haven't spoken to my family since that Christmas. Grandma and I have lunch every Sunday. She tells me Declan lost his job again, Athena had her baby, a boy, and my mother cries every time she sees my empty chair at holiday dinners. I feel sad about it but not guilty. There's a difference. Sometimes at night I imagine what my life would be like with $50 million. The house I could have bought, the trips I could have taken, the security I could have had. Then I think about who I'd become. Paranoid, isolated, constantly fighting people who saw me as a resource rather than a person. I think about the 3 families receiving cancer treatment they can afford, about the nursing student who'll graduate debt-free, about every life that money will touch in ways far more meaningful than a bigger apartment or a luxury car could ever provide me. The truth is, I did win the lottery. Not because I got the money, but because I finally understood that loving people who hurt you isn't loyalty, it's self-destruction. That setting yourself on fire to keep others warm doesn't make you a good person. It just leaves you burned. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I'm 32 years old, living in a studio apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda, working 50-hour weeks. I have $1,700 in savings and student loans I'll be paying off for another decade. By every material measure, I'm exactly where I was before the lottery. But I'm free. Finally, completely, beautifully free. And that's worth more than $50 million could ever buy. If you've made it this far in my story, I want you to know something. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to walk away from toxic people even if they're family. It's okay to protect your peace, your sanity, your heart. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to abuse you. Love without respect is manipulation. And sometimes the most generous thing you can do is refuse to enable dysfunction. They'll call you selfish. Let them. They'll say you've changed. Good, you needed to. They'll paint themselves as victims. That's their right. But you don't have to live in their story anymore. You can write your own ending. Mine is just beginning. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share your own stories of choosing yourself in the comments. You're not alone. And remember, your peace matters. Your boundaries matter. You matter. Thank you for listening to my story.